Detective Sarah Mendez had worked dozens of missing persons cases in her career, but nothing prepared her for the phone call she got one rainy Tuesday night. "Sarah, it's Daniel. He didn't come home." Her sister's voice was tight with panic. Daniel wasn't a drifter or a thrill seeker. He was careful, dependable, steady. The kind of man who paid his bills early and carried the same leather satchel to work every day. Sarah drove to his apartment. Everything was in place, keys on the counter, bed neatly made. But the satchel was gone, along with his phone and the ledger he'd been working on for his boss, Elliot Kane. She wanted to launch a full investigation immediately, but department policy forced her to step back. Her relationship to the missing person meant she couldn't lead the case. That didn't stop her from asking questions. Elliot Kane was the type of man who blended in yet stood out at the same time. Sharp suits, quiet voice, perfectly polished manners. He owned a small import-export business and was deeply woven into the city's business network. He served on charity boards, sponsored youth programs, and was exactly the kind of man people described as good for the community. When Sarah met him at his office, Elliot was sympathetic, even offering to help in any way he could. His records showed Daniel's last known appointment was with a client across town, someone who confirmed the meeting happened. It was a perfect alibi. Too perfect. The warehouse fire that unearthed the ledger happened weeks later. It had been reported as an accident, faulty wiring, according to the preliminary report. But when Sarah heard about the burned building and the lockbox, she asked to see its contents. The ledger was strange. On some days, there were two entries for the same date. The first, in clean black ink, listed legitimate transactions, goods shipped, payments received, expenses logged. The second, in deep red ink, carried only a name or initials and a vague word like closed or settled. It was the initials that froze her blood. Half the red entries bore M, initials that didn't match anyone in the business but matched Elliot's full name, Elliot Marcus Kane. The other half bore DIM, Daniel Mendez. Sarah began cross-referencing the ledger's red entries with police records. What she found kept her awake for nights. Every single red entry coincided with a missing person case, many never solved. Victims tied to M had financial links to Elliot's business. Disputes over money, failed partnerships, debts. Victims tied to DM had personal connections, abusive landlords, predatory employers, men accused of violence but never convicted. Daniel, the man she thought she knew better than anyone, was connected to 6 missing persons cases. Elliot was connected to at least 7 more. 2 sets of murders. 1 shared book. The more Sarah dug, the more she saw the ledger as a pact. Elliot handled the business side of their killings, eliminating threats to his financial empire. Daniel took the personal side, meting out what he saw as justice. They shared the ledger to track each other's actions, keeping the number of kills balanced between them. It was double booking in the truest sense, 2 killers, 1 record. But the balance didn't last. The last DM entry was dated 2 days before Daniel disappeared. DIM closed. Sarah knew she couldn't work the case officially, but she also knew Elliot would never stop unless someone stopped him. She reached out to an old colleague in homicide, Detective Morris, who agreed to put Elliot under quiet surveillance. For weeks, Elliot did nothing suspicious. He visited clients, attended charity events, kept his schedule clean. Then one night he drove to a storage facility on the edge of the city. When police raided it, they found dozens of boxes, each labeled with a year. Inside each box were personal items: watches, wallets, jewelry, letters. The kind of things families always mention when reporting a loved one missing. In one box dated 2019, they found Daniel's satchel. Inside, his wallet, his watch, and a single torn page from the ledger in Elliot's handwriting. The entry was neat, precise, and final. Settled. They brought Elliot in under pretense of questioning him about business irregularities. Sarah was allowed in as a consultant. Elliot sat calmly at the table, suit immaculate, glasses perched neatly on his nose. Sarah slid the ledger toward him. "Sarah, this isn't a business ledger. It's a kill list." Elliot, smiling faintly, "We kept our accounts clean. Daniel and I." He understood balance. But then, he tried to walk away. You can't leave the book half-written. There was no remorse in his voice. Just the certainty of a man who thought he was justified. Elliot Kane was charged with 13 murders. Prosecutors believe Daniel committed at least 6 more. Without Daniel's body, the full truth of what happened to him will never be known. Sarah resigned from the force months later. She couldn't reconcile the brother she loved with the man in the ledger. The ledger itself now sits sealed in an evidence vault. Sarah refuses to look at it. Some books, she told a reporter once, should never be balanced. In the end, Double Booked wasn't just the story of 2 killers. It was the story of 2 lives. One she spent her career trying to save, and one she never truly knew at all.